And I think why people feel this boredom is because there isn't this kind of clear number two. We say Mercedes has been the most consistent, but then again, you look at like Aston Martin. Now, there's been a few rumours knocking about that maybe there was some kind of change that Aston Martin had to make to their car through like flexi wings or something. That it's been nothing's been confirmed. There's talk around like these kind of underhand like communications of things, and obviously with the tyre compound changing. I mean, at the start of the year, I was very much like, well, not even the start of the year, like after a few races, I was very much like Aston Martin will be the team. And I do think that they've had this first half of this year with loads of ATR.
Yep.
So I think for me now, I don't see many of the cars changing going forward. I don't see much changing with the Aston Martin. I feel like unless you've got something to fight for, which I guess Aston do, they've got their constructors with Mercedes, but that's not going to happen. They might finish ahead of Ferrari. I don't think McLaren will catch them. But for me, it's just, unless you've got really something to fight for with millions on the line, which Williams, Haas and Alfa Romeo do, because they're all split by like 2 points, I think everyone's just going to bank their upgrades till next year now. I don't see too much of the cars changing in the next 10.
I mean, I said this on, I remember saying this on one of the shows about Aston Martin. It's kind of like, it's kind of similar actually to what we were saying about like straight line speed, in it, where that first like however many miles an hour, you don't need as much horsepower or whatever. The first amount of upgrades to take them from where they were to where they were at the start of the season in the winter feels like it was like a big jump. And then it's almost like after that, it's like, right, okay, cool. We've made all this ground. Mad. We've got to go do some more research in order to then find the next time on top of that. And whilst they've been, doing the research and whatever, and putting the hours into the next set of upgrades they're going to bring, the rest of the pack is kind of like caught up again, because they've been gradually bringing theirs rather than that one boom at the start of the season, that one massive piece of performance. So I think it was kind of always going to happen a little bit. I think they were always going to drop back a little bit. Either way, they're still top 10 every time. They're still probably like 4th/5th best on the grid at the moment, or quickest.
Yeah.
I think if you're Aston Martin, having banked up all those points at the start of the season, you'd probably take it.
Yeah.
I think they will improve a little bit. I think they will gradually bring some upgrades as the season goes on. But yeah, I don't think we'll see a massive change in overall order from this point onwards, because there's no point unless you are down towards the bottom of the field, and 2 points makes a massive difference.
Yeah, I mean, Aston Martin's jump up at the start of this year was pretty unprecedented.
Yeah,
and I think again, if you said to them at the end of last year,
or start of last year as well, especially
the start
at the end of 2023, you'd be like 4th in the constructors.
They were literally
like absolutely.
They were scrapping with Williams at the back, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think so. I think in that context, I think they'll be okay. And again, they've just moved into their new facility and all that. So I think they've got a very good driver in Fernando. They've got Lance Stroll, who does a job. I mean, I know Aston Martin have come out and said he's been very unlucky. I mean, has he? I think there's been a couple of strategy things that haven't maybe gone his way. And I think Saudi, he pulled that move on science, didn't he?
Yeah, it was like, I think he was like 6th, and then he broke down. But other than that, would I say he's been particularly unlucky? I know they're going to defend their driver, and they should. That's their job, right? And Lawrence's literal son. So of course they're going to defend their driver. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced. But again, that lineup's not changing next year, is it? Oh God! Now that would be the silliest of seasons, I reckon. If Lance was to lose his drive, that would be the silliest of seasons. Because that's genuine, like, DNA on the line there. You know what? Biological father has ditched his own son. Levels of silly season.
Yeah, Lance is the biological son. Fernando's the adopted son.
Yeah, Fernando is the adopted son, who's still somehow the biological son's dad. It's a very strange family tree they've got going on at Aston Martin right now.
What I could see happening, which I would hate this because he deserves a seat for me, but I could definitely see, like, if AlphaTauri, there's all this talk of Hugo Boss, which I think we'll get into. But I could see him going to Aston and being like a reserve.
Well, going to AlphaTauri and being reserved.
I could see Tsunoda going to Aston.
Oh, Jesus.
Because the Honda League being a reserve, which would break my heart. But I could see that happening.
Oh, no, I don't need that. They've already got enough reserves. They got Van Dorn, they got Drogovic, Tsunoda as well. How many reserves do you need? That's under 18s at that point. You're not even in the reserve.
This is why, and look, we both believe in Yuki Koen, right? We do. Early doors,
we do.
But I want to, so... This was a question on my quiz for my live show I did on Friday, right? So Yuki's P17 in the standings right now.
Yeah.
What do you think his average finishing position is? If you're listening at home, take a minute, have a think.
I reckon it's 12.
Average finishing position, you're saying 12.
Because the amount of 11ths he had.
So it's a number point something.
Okay.
So I've gone for one decimal place as well.
Okay, I'll go for, I think it's going to be closer to third. Well, I think it's 12.5. I reckon. Smack bang in between 12 and 13.
12.5.
Yeah. Because I can only remember one stinker he's had this season where he's been like 15th or below.
Okay.
So I'm slapping you.
Because he has finished every race. He's got to finish every single race.
What a man. Takes a lot of skill, a lot of consistency.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, you've almost smashed it there.
What is it?
12.8.
Shit.
When you said almost 13, I was like, he might actually get it.
He's fumbled it.
So yeah, P12.8 average finishing position. I think that tells more of the story of Yuki's season.
Yeah.
He's been very good.
He's been unlucky not to score more points, and I think I didn't even realise he was 17th in the standing.
Yeah.
Thought he was higher.
He's only got 3 points.
Yeah.
He's got 3 P10s and 3 P11s and a P12.
Mental.
So
see, that is actually consistency. That's actually impressive.
Yeah,
it's just a shame that points don't go down to 12.
Yeah, which again, I think that's why if Ricciardo comes in and matches or beats Yuki, I still think Yuki's done like a fantastic job this year. Like I don't think you can look past him because let's have a look at all of the drivers that are out of contracts. Starting with Lewis. What's the hold up? What is the hold up?
He just loves the drama, Mick. That's what it is. It's the sort of
we're talking about Mick Schumacher.
Yeah. he loves the drama. I honestly think Lewis needs to know that what he's going to get next season is exactly what he wants it to be, and that's calm. And he's earned enough XP during his time in Formula One to deserve that. Do you know what I mean? I think we've seen this so much. It's the last 3 seasons now, I think. There's been this question mark of, lads, it's August. He hasn't signed a contract. Yeah, I honestly, him and Toto just love to do this little salsa dance around the pen and paper each year. I honestly do think he's gonna sign with Mercedes for next year. There's obviously rumours about Ferrari and whatever, but unless something above Mercedes in the food chain almost happens that's crazy in this silly season, I don't see him retiring yet. He hasn't been giving vibes of that.
No.
Because he's been giving hints at Mercedes contracts and whatever. He's not made any hints to retirement or anything. It's either Mercedes or something else. So, and unless a seat at Ferrari becomes available or I don't know. I don't see anything like that happening.
The only reason I can think that it's been delayed, and I do think he's 100% going to extend at Mercedes, I think that he's surely this makes so much sense. He's going for some degree of ownership within the team, as well as being you look at, obviously he's got his stake in the Broncos. Lewis has a lot of business ventures that he's invested in. You've got like Neat Burger and all that he is involved with. You look at sports people buying into and actors buying into franchises. What you got? Is it Russell Westbrook's on the board at Leeds? He was at Leeds.
Yeah.
Because he's part of the ownership group there. Obviously, you got like Reynolds, McEnany. We've talked about that with Alpine already. For Lewis to buy and own a stake within that Mercedes Formula One team makes so much sense. He's been Mercedes affiliated for his entire career, even back at the McLaren days. It was Mercedes who first reached out to him. He's always driven Mercedes engines. He's so affiliated with that team. He's already got sports investment elsewhere. For me, that's, having that added layer of complexity, because the thing is that team is a third owned by Toto, a third owned by Mercedes Group, Daimler, whatever you want to call it, and a third owned by Ineos.
Yeah.
So someone would have to dilute for Lewis to get in.
Yeah.
I could maybe see everyone diluting a bit and then just 25% each, and Lewis taking 25% of that team. I could see that.
That would be crazy.
Trying to negotiate that is maybe why.
That would be crazy, though. Imagine he's driving for the team and owns part of it as well. Have we ever seen that in Formula One? Well, we have probably in like the old.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we it was Bruce McLaren.
Yeah.
When he started that team. Oh, he was. There's definitely been other examples of that. That's a good question, actually.
There will have been, but like olden times.
Yeah,
I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but when there was like a lot more independence on the grid.
Yes, whereas now it's like share structure and all that.
Yeah,
and big.
Here's Honda. Here's Jag. There's a lot more sort of.
Yeah. But I'd love that. I think that would be such a savvy for all parties as well.
Mm-hmm.
Savvy for Toto to because Lewis will eventually retire. It's going to happen eventually, and so keeping Lewis as a big part of that team going forward. The name Lewis Hamilton that would be huge. I think
Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes, Monster, Toto Wolff, Ineos, Petronas Racing.
Damn,
there you go.
Rolls off the tongue.
It really does. It really, really does.
It's a better name than Hugo Boss Balls Racing.